Welcome to Shardcast, the Brandon Sanderson podcast. We're a bunch of mega fans giving you the news discussion and, of course, a whole lot of opinions about Brandon's works. And, well, this week, not the Cosmere, but Alcatraz. Yep. I'm Eric, and joining me is Ian.
Hey, I'm your writer.
And also joining me is Kadie.
I'm Aon Ene.
Hey, I am Chaos, and what we're going to be talking about today is the long-awaited final book of the Alcatraz series. What, a good 15 years later since these books started coming out?
Yeah, the actual real final book.
The real final book?
Not the fake final book.
When did the first book come out? Was it 2008 or 2007? 2007. Okay, so it has been October 1st, 2007. So I think this episode will air on October 1st. So it'll be 15 years since Alcatraz 1 came out. And so we're talking about Bastille versus the Evil Librarians.
More than half my life. That's crazy to think about.
Yeah. So
Someone could have been born. Someone could have been born when the first book was coming out, and they could be reading the series now.
Yeah. That's oof. You think Mistborn Era 2 is bad? Alcatraz. We've been waiting a long time. So we are going to have spoilers for previous Alcatraz books because you kind of need to talk about what happened in book 5 to talk about this book in any coherent way whatsoever. Like you just have to. Let's start with some spoiler-free reactions about this book. What did you think?
I had fun with the book. But when I finished, I had that weird post-book, like, I feel weird about art in general. And it's like, because it didn't hit me as strongly as other books by Brandon and by Janci. I'm like, well, why is that? And ultimately what I came down to was like, this is a middle grade book. I am well outside the target age range for this book. And so while there are definitely parts of this book I really, really enjoy, it just doesn't hit like how I would like it to hit because it's a middle grade. And so and I don't want to say oh, it's a good book for middle grade. That's not what I'm saying. It's a good book. I'm not a middle grade reader. So I had fun, but I like other books by Brandon and Janci more.
Kadie, what do you think?
Okay,
welcome to the show. This will be the most Kadie talking on Shardcast because you have thoughts.
Entirely possible. I have so many thoughts. So this book, I loved this book because it got me so excited. I love Alcatraz, and this book really continued that. It made me excited and happy and amused. I was laughing or thinking about things the whole way through. It makes me want to talk about Alcatraz and think about Alcatraz and write about Alcatraz. And a lot of the specific things in the book, I'm like, what in the world is this?
So it's an Alcatraz book.
Well, but in other Alcatraz books, it's like, what is this? It's hilarious and I love it. And in this one, it's like, what is this? I think I like it, but I'm also extremely confused.
Oh, interesting.
It's a lot of the things in the book confused me. I either didn't understand what they were going for or what they were even, I didn't feel that they were explained as well. A lot of the things in there, I'm like, this has great potential, but I don't like how it was used. And a lot of the things I was like, I wish that they had done this slightly differently, even if I'm not sure how they would have done it differently. So I have a lot of thoughts, yeah.
Okay, so we'll get into spoiler thoughts very soon to discuss specifics. Here's my take. So I have read this book twice now. So I first read it not rereading any Alcatraz, and I was like, it's fine. I enjoyed it well enough. It's over. It's kind of weird because it's always been it's been around for so long, and the ending was just it's fine. Then then the other day, in preparation for this episode, I reread Dark Talent because I did not have time to reread all 5 of them. And then I read this book, and I enjoyed this book a lot better. So I would recommend that, just at least.
Full disclosure, I reread nothing.
Yeah.
And like, there's a line calling out people who didn't reread.
Yes,
there?
No, there is.
It's like that cracked me up. I'm like, I feel called out by this. Like,
But I mean, that's obvious. Like,
me.
It's been like 6 years since the last one of these. So, I will say I really liked Bastille's narration. Like, that was really good. It definitely felt different from Alcatraz while also still having the same spirit of Alcatraz. And like, she still does the same, like, oh, I've read the other books, I'm supposed to have a stupid chapter intro, just like being, arrogant and all these things. And
she has a literary license.
She has it's really funny. Like the writing jokes. I don't know how well that hits to middle grade readers, but I found that funny.
It was great.
Yeah. So Bastille was definitely a highlight. There was one joke in particular that I felt was legit 10 out of 10, and I love, and I'm so excited to talk about that. But the rest of the book, I was like, it's fine. Like, I think maybe I didn't really like the new lenses, maybe? I was just like,
the one new lens?
Yeah, and I'm like, I don't quite get what they were going for on that one. Like, it's the standard Brandon kooky magic, and I'm like, But it's a fine book. I enjoyed it a lot better after rereading a previous Alcatraz book to remember, like, what this is like. You should go reread Dark Talent, because the footnotes are very funny in that book. Because that's the one where Alcatraz learns how to use footnotes to great effect. Great effect, really. Like Janci was brought on because Brandon couldn't quite get Bastille's voice right. Mm-hmm. They got Bastille's voice right here. Like, I think that is the best part of the book, and really was fantastic. So I think Janci did a great job there. And yeah, I do think I'm enjoying these books less the older I got. Like, it's been like, I remember enjoying these books a lot in 2007 when I was 17. But it's been a hot bit. So they're fine,
Yeah, it's that like what people that watch Disney movies is like, you're an adult when you agree with the parent in the Disney movie rather than the child in the Disney movie. It's like, oh yeah, no longer the target audience for this. I have drastically different opinions.
Yeah. So I would reread Dark Talent before reading this one at least. Though that book references a lot of stuff in book 4, but they are very quick. I cranked through both in like a day. So so it doesn't take long.
I do want to point out that your background makes it look like Bastille is about to punch you.
I think that's very fitting. Yeah, that's very fitting, really. Like, I think Bastille, assuming Bastille was real and she's in the Free Kingdoms and she was hearing this podcast, like, you didn't like my book, I'll punch you. So, like, that's fine. I didn't not like it. I was just like, it's like not Oathbringer, right? Which, like, it is unfair, right? That is unfair.
I got a literary license specifically to write this book, and you guys come on here and start complaining about it? How could you?
Yeah.
I liked it well enough.
One other, because this happens very early in the book, so I'm going to count it as non-spoilers.
That's fine.
The whole magma versus lava thing, which, like, because full disclosure, like, I read this as part of the gamma, where we're supposed to catch like errors like in the text. And I'm like, oh, like making a note of that. Of like, I can't believe this got through to this draft. And then I got to like the call out of like, oh, some people like, is it supposed to be lava or magma? I'm just like, well, now I feel called out again. And like,
Also, but hot take though, is it lava if it's still underground, which they were underground?
That is a good point.
Like, it's not like in the rocks, but so like there is air above it, so maybe you could argue it's lava, but like they are still underground. So if you're a geologist reading this, what should it be, magma or lava? Who knows?
Yeah. Where is David when you need him?
That's true. Not reading this book, evidently. But that's fine. I don't know if he's read the Alcatraz books. By the way, if you're here listening to this show, thank you for listening to this, because I expect this to get really terrible analytics. So leave a like and subscribe, because ain't no one watching this episode of Shardcast. Like, this will be way worse than the Skyward analytics. So, but we've never done an Alcatraz episode ever, because there hasn't been.
We didn't do a Dark Tower?
No, because it came out in 2016.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And we sort of started. Yeah, there hasn't been an Alcatraz since we've done regular Shardcast. So it's not like we've avoided it. It's just all 5 books had come out, and this book took a while to come out.
Watch this get more views than anything else on the channel for some strange reason.
There's no way. There's
Arcane
no way.
YouTube magic.
There's no way. 0%. Look, they got me on the Secret Project 2 thing. That one got better analytics than I expected, but this one I think will do exactly as I expect. And when we get the White Sand Omnibus, that's also not going to get very many views, because not very many people are like, oh, White Sand, wow, incredible. So,
who wants to bet which one will get more, this one or White Sand? Which will get more
White
views?
Sand.
White Sand, because it's Cosmere.
Yeah. But like, it won't do nearly as well as any other Cosmere thing. Like, it will be the lowest tier Cosmere thing. Let's get on in to spoilers. And maybe we should talk about, the humor. Did it land for you guys?
Yes. It's not like it was laughing outrageously out loud, but it was amusing. I had a fun time reading.
Generally, yes. A lot of it was like, yes, this is funny, this is good. There were 1 or 2 jokes that I was like, I don't know about this one. The rest, pretty great. I especially loved when Bastille, the ongoing thing of, for those of you who don't know Hushlander sayings, this means such and such, and then getting it so completely wrong.
Oh, that was really good.
See, no, I really loved that, because when I was a younger person, I read a series of Unfortunate Events. By Lemony Snicket, who had a recurring thing where he would use a word which here means blah 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 blah, which usually that's not what that word means, but in that context, it. So it's the wordplay humor I found very amusing.
The police.
Agreed.
The police. The police.
The police.
Right.
Yes. Oh man. And those are jokes that only Bastille could make, because Alcatraz knows what they are, right? His comedy is more like, hey, wow, look how crazy the Free Kingdoms are and how ridiculous this is. Whereas Bastille's like, oh yeah, this Hushlander thing. I'll tell you about the Hushlander thing. And that really worked.
Their humors play off of each other very well.
Yes.
Yep. And it does help make this book feel so distinct.
Yes. Yeah. Can I talk about the GAC? I need to talk about the GAC.
Can talk about the GAC.
Because so the joke that I liked the most, this is massive spoilers. Turn this off right now. This is my favorite part of the entire book. And on a reread, it held up even better, because Bastille's all talking about Alcatraz is setting himself up as a straw man, and says the definition. And apparently in book 1, which I did not remember, but I had to word search it, that GACs are in fact a creature, and they're like, oh yeah, there's no GACs around. It was we don't need straw. This is in book 1. So I almost think that this joke with the GACs is foreshadowed way back when, because we've never seen a GAC. And so we finally see a GAC. And I just love that the cat goes up, touches Alcatraz, and Bastille's like, he's a straw man. and the Gak's just like not impressed. It's like, no, it's a person lacking integrity. And Alcatraz is just like, yeah, I'm the worst. And the Gak just kills family. I just love how well that was set up in the book of just like Alcatraz is all trying to convince you that he's awful, and like that kind of saved the day. Like, I dig it. That was so good, and it was so good to have a Gak actually on screen. The art. Oh, by the way, the art is amazing. Like, I love the art. That adds so much.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, even though it's kind of another creature killing the main antagonist very unceremoniously, it did require our heroes to be clever to actually employ that strategy, right? So I really loved that, and I felt that really worked with Alcatraz's arc, and Bastille's like, no, I got this. And it's all seeded through the book. So I really dug that. That was my favorite part of the book, because I thought that was just so clever.
Yeah, it's like I also really enjoyed that, and I was just happy to see a Gak.
Yeah,
because like that was a recurring joke through all of the books.
So it's like Gak. Yeah,
and so it's like there are certain things that we needed for this to be a fulfilling final book, and one of them was to finally see a Gak.
Yeah, like we had to go to the World Spire, obviously. We didn't really get anything about the World Spire other than like it's there. Wow, cool. But like we needed to see
to everyone
because
somehow.
Yeah. I'm glad the talents came back, because in reading Dark Talent, it was kind of a bummer to not have talents in that book. Like very minimally. So seeing talents come back in a dramatic fashion and seeing like the librarians get talents, like that was very zany and fun, even though they didn't really know how to use them. Like those are definitely things that I needed to see in this book. And we definitely got that. And we finally got another oculator duel, which I think the previous one was in book 1, and we never saw an oculator duel since.
Yeah, that was the other big thing of like, we need to see this, or we need to see this again. Yeah. Was like, we saw Grandpa Smedry have an oculator duel, like Alcatraz needed to have one.
Although it's a little unfair when the Smedrys are like, I'm superpowering all my lenses. So it's like, okay, but we'll gloss over that.
That was not Alcatraz's fault.
No, like, it wasn't.
He would have done fair if, a certain someone wasn't trying to destroy the world.
Well, technically it was Alcatraz's fault, because he let his talents go, and that's what supercharges all the lenses. So technically it actually was Alcatraz's fault.
That's a very good point.
It's true. In case you don't remember,
he's just the worst.
Yeah, he's just the worst. Because I did not remember when I read this of like what was going on, but like our Incarna made the Smedrys as an energy source. Okay. And the Incarna made the talents to like siphon off that energy to destroy. The Smedrys didn't destroy everything.
They created an energy source that ended up starting to vaporize people. Then they created the Smedrys to like siphon off that energy.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So the talents didn't kill the Incarna.
The talents.
Yeah. Alcatraz broke gravity. That was fun. Hence the sharks, the flying sharks here. That was pretty cool.
That was another payoff that they'd mentioned it in earlier books, and it came back and fulfilled the promise.
Oh, really? Of that specifically? Of breaking gravity? Of
him breaking gravity.
Oh!
Because he broke it in, I think it was the third book, he broke it for a minute. And then he was like, what would it be like to have gravity broken across the entire world?
Oh, well, nice.
You should remember this.
Oh, that's nice.
It was mentioned, yeah.
I like that.
You should really reread all of the books.
I guess so.
Before reading the final one.
I mean, judging probably by most people listening to this or on the channel, probably has not read any of these. And so, like, if you want a very silly and sometimes philosophical ride, you go read the Alcatraz books and you'll learn about the ship of Theseus, which Brandon loves talking about. I know Alcatraz talks about that in one of these books. Not this one.
It's like the perfect primer for the Cosmere, because like the ship of Theseus is so important there.
Yeah, you don't have Awakened, you have Alivened, you know? Gotta have another name that's like, kind of like construct-y things, but it's totally not Cosmere, guys.
If I could actually go back a bit.
Okay, sure.
Going back to the GAC bit, I find it very interesting that you guys really loved that.
Yes.
When that was probably the joke that hit the least for me.
Really?
Was the straw man thing. I specifically have beef with that one.
Okay, do tell.
I like it from a conceptual standpoint. I like it, but I wish that it had been seeded into the book differently and foreshadowed differently and mentioned in the events of the story rather than only the narration from Bastille. In like the start of the chapters, like, because like that's when the straw. Yeah, that is true. That is true. Because that feels like the part that she's writing as she's writing the book, as opposed to something that she was thinking about at the time. It didn't feel like something that she was thinking about as the story was going on. It felt like her looking back and calling Al a straw man from adulthood. So to me, it felt like, wait, where is this coming from that she's using it on the GAC? Isn't this something that her future self was thinking about? But I did love seeing the GAC in the story. I appreciated that. I liked the punning. I just felt that specifically them pulling out the straw man thing and using it on him, I wish that had been just tweaked a bit so it worked better. Because as it was, when I read it, I was just like, wait, hang on, I need to think about this. I don't know. That was how it came across to me. I liked it in my first read. In the reread, I'm like, I see what Bastille's doing, and the little clues is going along. But yeah, I mean, if it doesn't work for you on a first read, then like, you know, that's not great, right? You know. Yeah, I did love the straw puns though. Just how long that goes. Which
Again, totally a Cosmere thing. Going back to Words of Radiance.
Pun battles?
Like, no, when they're in the chasm and they're like, help us, we're making puns.
Oh, right.
Puns are a pretty iconic Brandon thing.
Yeah.
Even though I think most of this was Janci, but still, it fits.
Yeah. I have no doubt the outline was like made by Brandon, and Janci did the writing, and like that's kind of. Well, no, I guess in the Skyward ones, Janci like made the outline. Like Brandon didn't give like too much direction.
Going back to the discussion of puns.
Yes.
It's like we're talking about how like it's a very Brandon thing, but this was written by Janci.
Yeah.
I believe on our interview with Janci about the Skyward Flight novellas, like she talks about like she likes to blend her style with her co-writer's style. So it makes sense that like that was very strongly felt in this book. Yeah. Blending her style with Brandon's in the form of puns.
Yes. I think one thing that bothered me is just how weird slant viewers lenses are. Because I gotta be honest, I don't know what's going on with the slant viewers lenses. I'm like, I guess this is how it works, I guess. Like, I don't really know what this is doing. Really?
It seems like they did different things at different points. Like when they were introduced, it felt like they kind of helped someone, like helps you see from another person's point of view, including kind of like what they thought about you and how they saw you. Yeah. Maybe like metaphorically.
Kind of.
Well, like originally, like I feel like it was very much just like you see what you would see from like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Point. Then it was like you see like what they see, like including all of like what they think of you. And then it just got weird.
And then it's like reflecting stuff, and I'm like, sure, I guess.
It did a lot of things.
Yeah.
Because like I think the idea was that like in the Oculators duel, like adding that, choosing the other guy as like the target, basically just added his lenses to what was coming out of Alcatraz. And I'm like, But like that's
What?
I don't think that's how it was like worked. Because it was like you see what they see, not what is projected. The power projected out of their eyes also comes out of your eyes. Like,
I gotta be honest. I'm just like, you know what? I'm just gonna be moving on because I don't really know what's going on here. Like, I'll just go to the next zany thing, and I'm not gonna worry about this too much here.
Which sucks because there was a great moment with those lenses at the very end. When Alcatraz looks at Grandpa and goes,
"Oh yes," like
the way he sees me, that's not who I am, and that was a great moment. I loved that bit, except that the loving it was just kind of mixed with, wait, so this is what those lenses do? It was,
It's also weird if you reread book 5 because there's a lens there's the Schaefer lenses, and the Schaefer lenses are like, oh yeah, you basically see into their soul and see their like deepest desires and stuff, which like I guess is different than how like Grandpa is seeing other things rather than inside their soul, but like it does feel very related. I don't know.
That doesn't bother me too much because like
I don't know where the Schaefer lenses went.
They are different.
Yeah.
They felt like kind of maybe the same category, but different things.
Sure. Yeah.
You can throw the shame fillers lenses in there too, since they let you read minds.
It's true. That is true. Yeah. Maybe I should reread the end of book 5 a little more carefully because I'm like, why didn't he have those lenses? Did those lenses go away? I didn't think they went away, but okay, sure. I don't know. I did like how they got out of the library though. And how they dealt with that. That was good.
Bastille had an awesome 3-point superhero landing. Definitely didn't land in some mud. Not at all.
Funny. That was really funny. The illustration really added a lot to that. It's like, oh, Alcatraz always makes himself look cooler. I totally did this. Don't worry. Should we talk about Bastille and Alcatraz's relationship?
You mean how absolutely adorable it was?
It's pretty adorable. Yeah. What'd you guys think?
I liked it. And it's like, Janci is known, like, she's written a lot more romance than Brandon has. Mm-hmm. She's a lot better at writing romance than Brandon is. Just gonna lay that out there because it's true. Yeah. And it's like, I wouldn't call this a romance because they're 13-year-olds.
Yeah.
But like they're mutually crushing on each other, and it's adorable. Yeah,
that's a good way of putting it. Mm-hmm. And the wedding scene at the end was great.
That was
the wedding scene.
Really cute. It's like, it took years. What? We were kids. It's like, yeah, okay. Of course it took years.
Obviously.
Yeah. Yeah. And I really liked how Bastille was trying to like get Alcatraz out of his like extreme despair, right? There, which I think worked really well. Like their dynamic was really good, as always.
And Bastille's absolute refusal to admit that she's crushing on Alcatraz.
Yes, that was
even
fun.
Like as adults, Bastille is like, no, that's totally, even though I'm married to him now, that's absolutely not what's going in here.
No
it's just
thoughts
like the
that.
sun was just like shining. That's why like my face was hot. That's the only reason. Like Bastille. So cute.
Yep.
To move slightly away from their adorable romance, unless anyone has anything else to say specifically on that.
I'm good.
To move from that to just their relationship in general, it felt very realistic the way that Bastille acted toward him, trying to get him up and to be himself again. Yes, that's how a 13-year-old girl would react to that situation. The point where she's just like poking him and throwing grass at him and stuff and putting stuff in his ears or whatever. Yeah, that's Bastille. That tracks. I think I did expect her to realize a little earlier on that it wouldn't completely work and try something else. I don't know. But I think it went fairly well.
it's tricky because like until like they crash, like after they do the continent jumping, Bastille doesn't really know the depths of what really happened. Like she kind of does, but she doesn't know all the details. So like that makes sense that she's like, hey, get up, idiot, you know, and those sorts of things, right? And it helps that the book is so fast paced that we don't dwell on that for like a really long time. It's like we're moving really fast here.
Yeah. And it's like just the kind of person Bastille is. Like she's very direct. Like she's there to punch people to protect the Smedrys.
Yeah.
Like, all right, this is a problem. Let's solve it.
She's not a therapist for the Smedrys.
Oh, no.
Though, I did really like the part where Bastille's like, no, it's my fault that this happened. I was in a coma. I could have protected you if I didn't make this reckless decision in Mokia. And I really enjoyed that of just like that felt very realistic for Bastille's character because like if Bastille being useless, she does not like being useless. She hates that. So all of that was very believable and how that worked.
I think there were a few moments in the book where Bastille was like, you're probably just wanting Alcatraz to snap out of it already. But he needed to be this way, and he needed to not just get over it in the book, because that's the entire thing is even so much later on in his life, he's refusing to write these books because he just can't. It's too much for him.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I think that needed to happen, that needed to stay to fit with the other books. And I think that even despite that, he as a character managed to find some form of resolution at the end of this book. And it felt fairly satisfying despite necessarily not developing completely to the end of his journey.
Which makes sense. He's 13.
Yes, as well.
He has a lot of growing up to do.
Yeah.
Personally, like I really loved Alcatraz in this book. I've mentioned on other Shardcasts and on Span Reads that, you know, sometimes I just really love a character that hates themselves, like self-loathing. I just eat it up, and it's like got a lot of that in this book, and I'm like, yes, perfect. So, and part of that is like his whole thing with like blaming himself for his father's death, and like the whole dynamic with his talent, which was very cool. I love that dynamic.
Yeah,
it's just like, yes, that I really loved.
Yeah, and the best thing is that if he snapped out of it, the Gak wouldn't have killed Biblia then, and they'd probably all lose, right? Realistically, like if he didn't have that much self-loathing, they would not have saved the day in a sense. So, in some sense. That said, yeah, Alcatraz was not helpful initially in this book at all, which makes sense.
Listen, this kid is a 13-year-old and he is so traumatized.
Yeah.
I want to just give him hot cocoa and wrap him up in a blanket and tell him it's okay. You can sit here for a while.
And
except
I'm just
he
like,
kind of can't because they have to go save the world.
I'm just over here eating up all of his trauma. I'm like, yes, give
Valid.
me more.
Valid.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. And it was like the line of like Alcatraz started drooling. I was like, oh yeah, that checks out. So, or
when he just randomly fell asleep, I was like, of course,
like,
of
yeah,
course.
But yeah, like I did really like the Alcatraz's afterward. It like has good closure for both the characters, Bastille and Alcatraz. And yeah, so I did like that.
Because it really helps emphasize that there are like two different sets of characters, because there's the young Bastille and Alcatraz through all of the books, and then there's adult Alcatraz and Bastille through the books.
Right.
Actually, they are at different points.
Yeah.
Like, it's good.
Yeah, and she has the breaking talent at the end. That's so cute.
Of course she does.
Yeah. Yeah, what could go wrong? I also liked in rereading this book that I mean, Grandpa comes back because we did know Grandpa comes back because that was in Bastille's note at the end. Although I do like the shade that Bastille put. It's like, oh, there was like some reader guide, and so people missed my letter at the end. Sounds like librarian stuff, that's some nice shade. But so we did know Grandpa comes back, but it is really entertaining how both Grandpa and Attica come back. It's like, here's Janci doing Brandon's work. I'm sure that would be the case, wouldn't it?
Living up to the hallmarks of Brandon's writing.
That's right. I mean, as for consequences, Attica never got out of the lens, right? Which is good. But it is just interesting that it's like, oh, hey, they're not dead and stuff. Okay.
And I actually found Attica coming back. I really liked that.
Yeah.
Specifically because of the line about and this also gets into the resolution of Shasta a little, that they both have the talent of losing things. So it's like Attica lost his humanity. And it's like that whole poetic poetic use of the talents is something I really like. It's like, it's not just oh, you put something in your pocket and it vanishes. It's like, no, sometimes other things can happen.
Right. It's true. And then in the end, they give the Smedry Talents to everyone, and that's how they save the day, which is interesting.
It is interesting because it's an inversion of what inspired the Smedry Talents. Because it's because part of Brandon's inspiration was those little random things that everybody has. What if you turn them up to 11 and they become a superpower?
Right.
But here, no, it's those are just a weaker form of the Smedry Talents. The Smedry Talents came first. It was oh, hey.
That's true. Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah.
So many thoughts on Attica.
Oh yeah, go for it.
Are we ready for me to go into my so many thoughts on Attica?
Yes. We're so ready.
Okay, we're so ready. So Attica is another one of those things that I like a lot in concept, and in execution, I don't really at all. I really like the idea of him being in the lens. I think that's a really interesting idea to play with, and I think there's a lot that you can do with it, but only if you actually do things with it. There's two kind of aspects that you could take this from. There's the plot, plot reasons for him coming back. I hit my microphone. And then there's the character reasons for coming back, and it didn't feel to me that he adequately affected either of those in a way that I like. The plot reasons for him coming back is he comes back, he info dumps a lot. He info dumps a lot to the kids, and they just kind of do what he says. And he brings in a bunch of stuff at the end, and they do what he says, and it happens.
No, save the day.
And that, to me, is just so unsatisfying that they didn't get to figure that out on their own, because I think they could have. I think you could have had them put those pieces together. And that they listened to him doing it. I don't like that. The potential plot reason for him coming back did not feel like it paid off to me. And I don't think that happened in the way I would have liked for it to happen.
Too Deus Ex Machina-y in that sense. So it's Attica's here and he's gonna solve the problem, basically.
Very, very much that. It felt like it took things away from the kids. And then as well, from a character perspective, I really like Attica coming back and being just hey, Alcatraz, you're going to get me out of here and save me, because that's how we do here. Because he would. He's terrible, and he would expect Alcatraz to do that again after he already saved him from being a curator. I love that. That feels on point. And I really love that Alcatraz couldn't. It couldn't be done. Attica expected it, and Alcatraz there wasn't a way for him to do that at the end of this book.
Right.
And he was stuck in there. I like that. I like, in general, bringing Shasta into it a little bit, just by saying, at the end of the book, Alcatraz doesn't have an improved relationship, or doesn't have a good relationship, at least, with either of his parents. The book ends with him just not having that. And that's okay, because he has other family. He has a good support system. He has family and friends. And not everyone has to reconnect with their parents or other family or whoever to have a good life and to heal eventually. And I think that's really good that they showed that, and that it wasn't all just, oh, we wrap up everything perfectly because it's middle grade and he gets back together with his family and oh, it's all great. I like that. No, Attica's not a very good person.
No,
you don't
horrible.
have to reconnect with him. You
and Shasta isn't much better either.
No, she's honestly not.
Like, she's really bad and like, oh, I tried to harden you. Like, maybe that happened in this book or the previous book. I read it back to back.
I don't remember.
But just like harden you to like try and stop Attica and things. Like, she is awful. So that was very believable that like it almost would have felt disingenuous for them to be a happy family after that. Like the happy
Very
family is with Grandpa and the other Smedrys and Bastille, right? Like that's his family.
And I very much liked that. I don't think Attica necessarily had to come back to achieve that. I think it could have been just with Shasta and with having his father die and never getting to repair that. I think that could have also worked very well. So just on both sides, I think there's a lot of potential, and I like a lot of what was brought in as the concept. But I don't necessarily know if I think it was pulled off exactly the way I would have wanted it to be, or if it was enough to justify Attica coming back. I also might have liked kind of an explanation for why he was in the lens and like how that all worked. I guess his blood, like, why does his blood bring his consciousness with it? That's
what does the Bloodforge lens do at all? It's a magic plot device that Biblioden needs to activate the other magical plot device of the World Spire, which we also have no idea what it does or what it means.
Yeah, what?
Going back to something you said, is like, the only like real reason why I can see like Attica coming back is that if he just straight up died, then Alcatraz would be left with like the big question of like, could I have repaired my relationship with Attica? Like, could he have become a good father? With him coming back, it's just a straight up like, nope, he just sucks. And like Alcatraz can move on. Like,
that's true. That is true.
Fine. That's a fair point.
Yeah. It's kind of fun to see that. Because like Attica always wanted to give the Smedry Talents to everyone, right? And so like having that finally be like in the climax is like kind of cool. But I definitely see what you're saying, Kadie. That's like, do we really need Attica coming back? But I wouldn't say I minded. Like, it's made with his blood. Like, sure, his soul could be in there, I guess. Like, yeah, okay, like fine enough.
He
like,
was sacrificed on encyclopedias. Who knows what the encyclopedias do?
Yeah, that part I can hand wave fine.
Yeah.
It's Alcatraz.
Yeah, right. Things don't need to make sense in the Free Kingdoms. Physics is a lie, but gravity isn't. Until Alcatraz breaks it. Yeah, I liked how Alcatraz didn't heal his relationship with his family. And I do think it is, for exactly what Ian said, it's nice to just have Alcatraz say, yeah, no, he sucks. He's always sucked. He's a bad dad who like never was around, and he's just not good.
Alcatraz thinks he's the worst. Attica is the worst.
He's not great. And honestly, his enthusiasm makes it more insufferable. But like, but you're not supposed to like him, right? In that way.
But at the same time, it's like you can tell like Attica is Alcatraz's father. So you can see there are similarities.
Yeah.
It's like Alcatraz in a different world, like could have ended up with Attica, ended up like Attica.
Yeah,
probably if Attica was actually involved with him growing up.
Yeah,
at all.
Good thing he didn't really. But
no, thank you. Don't want that.
Nope. Speaking of Shasta, it seemed like Shasta was basically like taking control of the librarians and immediately ending the war. That's what happened, which I think's a good character ending for her. And that's what she always wanted too, was to end the war. She didn't want the war to happen, and like they're not freeing the Hushlands, which, I mean, obviously that can't be the case because that's the whole premise of the book, that is that we live in the Hushlands, so that we can't just destroy that part of the world building, right? But ending the war with the Free Kingdoms, like, that's cool.
Because it's like Shasta and Attica got together for a reason.
Yeah.
So like it makes sense. Like she wants the end the war because like, and I think part of her plan is to like end like the Hushlands, but it's just like that just needs to happen after a very long time, very carefully after a very long amount of time.
Carefully brought
which
to that
basically
point.
means never, but
careful, a very careful, controlled thing like librarians would want. But like having the evil cult be less evil, I mean, that's good. Shasta's not the best, admittedly, but like she does have some good intentions sometimes. But I mean,
she has good intentions. She just also sucks.
Yes.
So it's like those good intentions don't necessarily mean much when her motivations and like her plans aren't actually good.
Yeah.
It's a better control to leave them under than Biblioden. It may not necessarily lead to great places, but it's theoretically better.
Can I just talk about Biblioden for a second now that you mentioned him? Because in rereading book 5, I still think that is just, it's very obvious that Deef is Biblioden when you reread. But did we really need to bring back the original librarian? Like, I don't know, it's a little weird. And like, he doesn't really do that much in this book, honestly.
He very much doesn't.
Yeah, he's like... He shows up and then he monologues for a hot second. There's a joke about monologuing, and then he gets eaten, and that's the end. And we don't learn any of the like vague backstory that was set up, which that's fine. There was only like a couple mentions of him sinking a continent of followers for some reason. Yeah, he sunk a continent.
He had a brother, something like that.
Alcatraz used the Shaper lens on him, and you just got
and there was just
pages, that was pretty cool.
That was a sick moment. I wish it led to something.
Yeah, and that just really didn't lead to anything. I don't know if it needed to, but in retrospect, I don't know why we brought Biblioden back. You know, like did he really need to come back? Like it felt
really
like
do anything.
He didn't really do anything. Like, it definitely like raised the tension in book 5 to like really like, oh, this is really catastrophic, right? But I don't know, maybe episode 9 of Star Wars has just gotten me like, hey, maybe let's not bring long dead villains back. Maybe that's not the best idea.
It's like that, I feel, is a different situation.
It is a different situation.
Because we saw that long dead villain get dealt with originally.
It is much worse.
It's like we've already like dealt with him. It's like, whereas Biblioden is a part of the backstory that got brought forward, and we now have to deal with.
It's just weird that there's
Star Wars, I don't know.
Yeah, it's just weird that there's the Scrivener's bones, like following the Scrivener, but the Scrivener's still around. Like, it's just, I don't know. It's kind of a weird idea, in my opinion. But yeah, we did not get more of Biblioden. I don't know if that mattered that much. Like, I'm not like massively disappointed in this book, because this book had a lot to do, and there's not a lot of space in this book to do it, right?
Like it goes back to that this is a middle grade book. It's not going to have everything we would expect from an adult fantasy.
Yeah. Like, I did like Biblioden being the villain. I'm like, I'm not worried about the GAC at all. And then he's like, oh crap, now I'm worried about the GAC, and then instantly dies. Like, that's pretty great. I appreciate that immensely. But speaking of parents and older characters, Drowlin, Bastille's mom, they had a good moment early in the book where Drowlin's nice to Bastille, which is weird. And then when things get back to normal, it's like, okay, Drowlin's back to kind of being mean. But I don't know, that worked for me in their relationship there.
That didn't work for me, actually.
Oh, yeah?
And I think that's because of that moment. It felt like it was setting up something in their arc later on, just for them to actually try and set back up and be okay and kind of get along more. And especially with how in the previous books it's also been that way, but then this kind of showed that Julian actually cares about Bastille, and in the Dark Talent too. Like, once Bastille is unconscious, she obviously cares about her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right.
And she just doesn't want to show it.
Yeah,
because they're knights. And so I kind of wish that their relationship at the end could have contrasted Alcatraz's with his parents. Like, he's there to show you don't have to reconnect, and they're there to show, but you can. It's still possible to, if the people on both sides actually care and put in the effort, like Julian did care. If they try, then you can actually have a good relationship. So there would be both sides of parents caring versus not caring for their children. I think that would have been a better end and more fitting for her arc with her mother, personally.
Yeah, because it didn't really... Well, the thing is we didn't see her for most of the book. So, like, there's not... that moment near the beginning is, like, the only moment we have with her, right?
In this book, yeah.
Yeah, I guess... to me, I'm like, oh yeah, the adults suck. It's a young adult middle grade book. Like, yeah, of course the adults suck. Like, that's yeah, of course. If they're good, then they die. Like, that's how this works here. Come on. But I see what you're saying.
We had the other Smedrys, though. We had Leavenworth. So, like, you know that it's not just the adults all either suck or they die.
That's true. Sorry, the direct parents.
There were other Smedrys.
Yeah.
I'm just amused by Leavenworth.
Would you prefer that I call it?
Leavenworth is the name of the prison.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, right. Because
that's my bad.
That's right.
I thought that you were going to get after me for calling him his first name, and I was like, would you rather that I call him Grandpa? No, okay. This is me pronouncing things wrong again.
No, just Shardcast pronunciation edition, really.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Not a lot of this book is a little odd in that, like, we sort of leave the supporting cast of book 5 away, but at the same time, this really does need to be the Bastille and Alcatraz show, right? Like, those are the focus. We already kind of have 2 main characters, so, like, it kind of makes sense. Like, there's not a lot of room.
Yeah.
And it's like, and a thought I did just have is that, previous books, we were always introduced to a new member of the Smedry family, which we don't get in this book, but we do because Bastille becomes a Smedry in this book.
Which, like, we know because she signs it as Bastille Smedry in the last book. But yeah, it's good. That's good. I like that. A thing I didn't like is that I feel like there were some mysteries with the World Spire, and we just didn't touch on it at all. It's like we're at the Spire to stop Bibliodon, and we did that. Cool.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, it's so mystical and weird that, like, I don't know what I wanted, but I think I wanted something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Brandon has trained us very well.
Yeah.
In that, like, we hear about a cool world building thing and we just want to know all about it.
Yes.
Which works great, again, in an adult fantasy where we can dig into those things. For a middle grade book, no, it's just a cool, wacky part of the world. There's a huge spire of crystal connected to everyone in the world. And sometimes if a breeze goes across it, like, a certain percentage of the population gets a chill up their back and you flick it. Sometimes people feel it. Like,
yeah, like,
okay.
Like,
yeah, I felt the same way as you, Eric, but I do think that probably is something that wasn't necessarily needed. I just kind of expected it as well. Yeah.
Like, I will say it was cool Alcatraz touching the spire and breaking gravity for everyone. Like, that was pretty cool. Like, that is a thing you can do with the world spire that, like, totally makes sense in its nonsensicalness. But yeah, I wish there was maybe a bit more lore that we could learn about it at it somehow. I don't know. Because I feel like we tended to learn about the title thing of the book. I know that this book isn't called The World Spire, but I know Brandon called it that for like a while. And when you read book 5, it sounds like, I gotta go to the World Spire. So it's like, okay, well, we're obviously going there.
For the entire book being about getting to the World Spire, we didn't talk very much about the World Spire.
Yeah, we're just like on the stairs.
A location.
Yeah, exactly. It's not a sky beam, but it's a big tower that we had to, do a beam to like affect everyone on the world, very, very Marvel style, and we're mostly on the steps of it and just around the world.
There's like a top
plateau thing.
Platform. Yeah. There are some platforms around it.
Yeah.
There is one bit where they're all on the fight up there, and Bastille's like, "Oh no, we're breaking parts of it. How is this going to end up for all the people connected to it?" And then nothing ever comes of that.
That's true.
Which I think is also probably just one of those, like, of course there aren't consequences for that specific thing. It's middle grade, and that was just kind of meant as a maybe raise the suspense a bit.
Yeah.
In the moment, I was like, wait, why didn't anything come of this? But I think that is probably something that, like, that's not a huge problem for me.
Yeah. I did really like the librarians getting the talents though, and like using that, and like that was a fun climactic sort of ending there, especially with the GAC coming up. It's like, oh crap.
Bastille being uniquely able to fight against people with talents because she spent so much time with them and thinking about them.
Oh, it's like, I wanted to do this so much for so long.
and like, I love like Bastille's happy place. It's like Smedry's in box, and then later like Smedry's in box. Like, this is very much not my happy place. Like, that was good. Again, I think I said before, but the illustrations add so much to this, and I love them so much. Hidenazo, so good. And really,
thank you, Haley.
Yeah, I really should reread all of them, because I read book 1 through 4 of the Scholastic edition, and so I never got to see illustrations. And so definitely having book 5 and 6 with the illustrations, and having like the narrative go with the illustrations in clever and interesting ways is very fun. It really adds a lot there.
There's a lot of like little things hidden in the art. Like in book 4, like Alcatraz, Shasta is in prison reading a book, and if you look at the illustration, like the cover is Mistborn: The Final Empire.
Yep.
You can just barely make it out. Like,
that's really funny. That's really funny. Oh man, they're fun books. And I think the ending is like, could there have been a better ending? Like it worked pretty well, wrapping most of the things up. Really. Yeah. I don't know. Well, yeah, but I guess I'm not in love with it either, right? Like, it was fine.
I think it got very close and then didn't quite stick the landing for me, in part because of a few things, mostly in the finale.
Like Attica?
And just in general, the finale. And I really liked it, and I think it was very close. And it's still, the book in general, I'm still happy about the book. I'm very happy we got it.
Yes. Yeah. That we needed to get this book. Like many things, I think this series would be much better if Dark Talent came out sooner, and this book came out sooner, closer to Dark Talent. But that's not the world we're in. That doesn't mean this book shouldn't exist. But it's a bit of a bummer.
I do think Janci was the right person to write it.
Yes,
because she got Bastille's point, or she got Bastille's voice on point, just perfect.
She did get Bastille.
As always,
very good job.
Janci is awesome.
Janci's great. And she absolutely nailed Bastille's voice, and that's definitely a highlight of this book. And just the narration and everything is really fun.
And now going forward, the series is complete. Any new readers can just read it all straight through.
Yes. Which is really good. Because being
and
able
Brennan
to
can like close off a long hanging series. And hopefully get to another one. Come on, Arithmetic sequel. Come on, Brennan.
I'll see you in 2030. Which is honestly not that far away, given the
Don't
production.
say things like that.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of isn't, like, given how much Brandon has to do and stuff.
The other big thing that happened is Bastille getting the chance to be an oculator.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Which was good.
It's like that's a thing that gets brought up in book one, that it's something she's always wanted and it can never happen because being an oculator, you're born to be an oculator.
This is all just because of the supercharging, right? Allowed her to do, like, the glasses being supercharged, and so that let Bastille do oculator things.
It was the power kind of like bursting out through everyone instead of just the Smedrys, because there was so much of it.
Oh, right.
I think, anyways.
Yeah. Just need a metaphysical power source that's going to vaporize everyone.
Yeah. Also, for video listeners, I don't know why in this podcast in particular, Ian is like sometimes the most pixelated and fuzzy in the universe. But the Discord, you get what you get sometimes with Discord. So there you go. Yeah, like having Bastille experience a bit of oculator-ness was nice, and a nice wrap up for that.
And it makes sense with the scenario that is happening. We've seen Alcatraz able to supercharge lenses. We know Biblioden wants the metaphysical power source to go into all of the free kingdomers. That, of course, it's going to happen with Bastille. All makes sense.
Yep. Yeah. No, that was good. So that was a good thing to wrap up Bastille.
And of course, like the adult Bastille having the line of like, no, I'm not an oculator. That doesn't happen. And of course, the loophole is like, she was briefly an oculator, but she is no longer.
Yeah.
Doesn't get to keep it, but she had the experience.
Yeah. Which, that was a really nice way to finish that up, I think.
Final thoughts. It was implied that the bullet was still in Grandpa Smedry's head, with him still being wounded and having the thing up there, which is very, I don't want to say graphic, but it's definitely a detail that I wouldn't have expected out of a middle grade book. But it's very interesting that it's just still in there.
It's in that note at the end of book 5.
Yeah, I think I kind of assumed that it would have been like lost in the lateness ether or something. But no, it's still in there, which, okay, that's metal, literally. And then final thought. We're all wearing glasses, and I think that's very appropriate for this.
I think that's very appropriate. Yeah, that's, very appropriate. Just reminds me of that first Scholastic cover of Alcatraz where he just looks like Harry Potter. Remember that one? I remember those covers. The 2 covers are much better.
I still have that one. I have the Scholastic book 1, and then everything else is the tour.
I think I need to get all the new paperback tours, but I made sure before the paperback tours came out that I got all the hardcovers before I couldn't find them anymore, so that I'd have them. And someone's going to come in my bookshelf like, you really like these books? I'm like, yeah, they're fine. Like, yeah, I like them. It's more just, I don't want to be here in 20 years and be like, I wish I had the edition of those books. So I have to have them. So, but yeah, I am glad the series is done. I think it is a good conclusion. And I did enjoy reading it, and I still really love the line about the GAC. Like, that's really good, in my opinion. That was very, very clever.
I'm looking forward to rereading all of them all the way through and getting the full experience.
Yeah. Anything else?
Do we want to do what is your Smedry talent?
Oh yeah, we should do that because we've never done an Alcatraz episode on this show, and we never will again. Realistically, look, eventually, I'm sure there will be Alcatraz span reads, and no one's gonna watch those. But yeah, we'll solidly do that eventually, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, what are our Smedry talents? And you can put your comments below about what your Smedry talent is.
So I have been giving this some thought.
Oh, good. I didn't.
And it would be like some sort of like temporal displacement thing, a la cadmium burning.
Oh, so we're going with what Smedry talent would you want, not what like you sort of have.
No,
already.
this is what I have. This is
what?
Let me finish.
Okay.
Which is like, it's like some sort of like temporal displacement, a la like where it's like you end up further in the future than you were expecting, which manifests as like getting lost in books or like daydreams.
Oh,
it's
right.
Like,
yes.
Oh wait, it's like 2 hours from the last time I paid attention to things. Like I thought like maybe 15 minutes had passed.
I need to like eat food and dinner, and it's way later than I expected. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's my talent.
Yes. Kadie, what about you?
For being the person who wrote this down on the outline, I also put no thought into it.
I can go if you need some more time to think.
Yeah, that might be a good idea.
Okay, my talent is that I always wake up still sleepy all the time. I don't think I've ever had a restful night's sleep, and since Alcatraz books have come out, like probably a good 15 freaking years, and I should maybe go to a doctor about that. But I think a fun Smedry talent would be like, no, I'm always sleepy, like the Hulk, except I'm sleepy.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, like it, like mine, like it's like would probably be phrased as like I can lose time because like
time.
Losing is like a theme with some of the talents.
Yeah.
It's like
Although amusingly, even though I'm always sleepy, it takes me forever to fall asleep. That's the catch.
Oh yeah, I know how that is.
Yeah. So I can't fall asleep on a whim, but I am tired all the time.
I think my talent might be something like nitpicking, where you notice really, like you notice the details of things, so that you can go like, hey, this and this and this and this, and just kind of generally be,
the talent of actually.
Yes.
Actually.
I like that.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I feel like that's a talent that a lot of our viewers have in this fandom, which is great. Sometimes great.
Yeah.
But yeah, pretty cool. It is good to have it done. And I'm gonna be very interested to see if there's like any discussion about this book on our Discord server. But you can go to 17shard.com to talk about all your news, discussion, theories, and fun, including Alcatraz. We'll have a spoiler channel in Discord. I would say historically there has not been very much Alcatraz discussion, but to be fair, since the creation of our Discord server, there's not been an Alcatraz release, so that's not great. But you can go there. If you like our stuff, you can support us on Patreon for as little as $1. I can't imagine we'll be commissioning Alcatraz artwork, but the illustrations help.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Never know.
Yeah.
Who can say what the future brings?
If you really like Alcatraz, the Coppermind needs a lot of help on Alcatraz articles, because there's not a lot of people who like helping with those. So go help with those. And you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, SoundCloud, and YouTube. Hopefully by the time this comes out, iTunes will have fixed itself. The stone shaping episode, it's on our feed, but iTunes didn't get it, and the last band reads didn't go to iTunes, and I put a support ticket as of recording, and they're like, we'll try to get back into business day. Yeah, that didn't happen. So hopefully that's there. You can always subscribe directly. Our RSS feed is in the description for a direct link to all the stuff. You can always download all the audio files like you're in 2003. There you go. Download those MP3s. But you can do that. But hopefully iTunes will fix it and it'll be in the iTunes feed by now. Hopefully, given that it's going to be like October 1st when this episode comes out. So hey, cool. Well, we're not doing Who's That Cosmere character, obviously, because yeah. So we will see you all next time. Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Caw.